One of the hardest things, I think, when you get over 50 is how to do your makeup. Making up is hard to do when you're this age because the same rules do not apply. Now, I'm being very brave here, turning up with no makeup, but I thought I'd have a quick go to show you what solutions I've found to get over that sort of, I'm not 18, but I still want to wear makeup. So, I've got a few bits and pieces here that I use. And I'm a particular fan of MAC, so that's probably why most of it is here. So starting off with this, it's a little light base and I put a tiny bit in my hand, okay, not too much, just a tiny bit. And I put a little bit on my cheeks. It's almost like the lightest covering because I honestly think that less is more when you're a little bit older. I hardly put any on my forehead either, but that's because I've got a fringe and I don't actually like having a thick makeup. I hate even feeling like I've got makeup on, and one of the things that really annoys me more than anything when I go and have it done professionally for a shoot or filming or anything is when you get a young makeup artist who's only ever done young faces. And what does she do? She does mine the same way and I just look ridiculous. So, a light base on, then I've got this really cool brush which is very sweet and soft. And I've got this, which is, it's called a Studio Fix. So inside is a matte powder and a little sponge. So you can either put it on with the sponge, but as a light covering, I prefer to just cover it like that. Being very careful around your eyes. Why? Because certainly at my age, my eyes are a lot crepier than they used to be. I've got more lines and the skin's a lot looser and softer. Don't love it, but it's just the way life is. So one of the things a lot of makeup artists do that really wins my ticket is they get that and they drag it under my eyes. And all that happens is I get loads and loads of kind of wrinkly lines that are caked in foundation or powder, and it's horrible. So my advice is to just dab it and press, don't drag. Whatever you do, don't drag. But you do need a little bit of coverage underneath. If you find it's very dark circles underneath, use a tiny little bit of concealer and just dab it on again, and like I say, a little bit of powder very lightly under there, okay? Now, eyes. I've recently discovered the most exciting thing. This, it's called a primer. Now, my DIY days are long over, but apparently a primer is what makes the eyeshadow stay on, because I used to put loads of powder eyeshadow on and then either it creased or blown away in the day, probably within an hour of putting it on. That really drove me mad. So the tiniest piece, it's like a clear colour. Just a tiny wee blob, that's all you need, on my eyelid, okay? Covering all of the area from my eyelid right up to my eyebrow. So that it doesn't feel in any way wet or damp, just thin coating. And then get my blusher brush, which is a nice fat soft brush, back on the same powder and just cover that, okay, so that it's dry in your eyelids. Now this is the bit I love because this is like the artistic bit. For those of you who have failing eyesight, which I used to have, but I've had my some surgery in my eyes, so I don't have that anymore. But this is the most tried and tested little thing you'll ever find. It's called Tweezerman mirror. You can get them in other brands as well, but Tweezerman I find particularly good. And normally it's got a couple of suckers on the back. You can stick it on a window, or you get loads of really good light in your face. But what it does, it magnifies things, so you know what you're seeing in that mirror is 10 times closer up than anyone else would see it. Then I have this really fabulous brush. It's thin, see? And it does edges and soft blending. And this, I found sounds like a little kit. I know it does sound a little kit, but actually it's not. 2 brushes and the blusher one. No, I'm sorry, 4 brushes. 4 brushes, and you're good to go. So these 2 do the face, these 2 do the eyes. This one, first of all, is really good with a little bit of soft brown. Avoid the black, girls, definitely avoid the black. I've got these colours here, a little palette from MAC. So I like this browny colour because it gives me a little bit of definition, but not a hard line. Just enough to make my eyes stand out a little bit. What we'll do is I'll do one side and see what difference it makes. So it almost looks when my eyes are open. See just how much it stands out. It's incredible. I then use the other brush, slightly darker, to fill in the areas of my eyebrows that have gone a bit bald because the edges disappear. Nothing heavy, don't go crazy, because the temptation to go for this sort of teenage scouse brow thing can just get out of hand and you suddenly look like you're Coco the Clown. So, got my soft brown on there. Also, a little bit underneath is quite nice too. Right in the corner, drag the corner like that, because your corners might be deeper than they were when you were 18. So it's just a little bit, it's really soft. Look, there's nothing kind of major there. And if you're going out in the evening and you want a little bit more definition, a tiny bit of black powder on this same brush, right on the eye line, not any deeper. Will just make it stand out beautifully. So, a little bit of mascara on top of that. That's about all you need, really. You can go heavier if you like with some soft brown in the eye socket. But in general, a tiny bit of mascara and really soft lines. I honestly think avoiding the whole flick thing. I tried it once because my daughters were doing it and it got lost. Right in there somewhere, because there's so many creases. I had the flick going, and then when I tried to actually flick it out, it got lost in a ton of skin, and I thought, oh, that's a terrible look, I'm not doing that again. Blusher brush, tiny bit of blusher, only in your cheekbone, under here, right into your edge there of your hairline. And a really nice soft lipstick, a neutral colour. I think less is more when you're older. Nothing too scary and bright, especially daytime. In fact, it's called Lip Glass, and my colour of choice is called Lust. So, this is so weird doing half my face. But I do think it's not a lot, but it makes quite a difference.